Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it. Um, we're going to wait a few minutes for some folks to come in and join us. But we're thrilled that you could be here today for our April webinar, which is a very important topic, and it's maximizing your event engagement with smart technology. And we have a lot of great content to share with you this afternoon. So just give us a few minutes. I'm sure everyone who is joining us wants to know how to engage their members more, how to keep them coming back for every event. And I'm not going to give anything away, but you'll find out a lot of good information here in today's webinar. So while we're waiting, I would be happy to introduce today's speaker. That is Akshar Patel. He is our Vice President of Corporate Strategy and Development here at eShow, and he has quite the impressive background here in the event industry. And I'm sure many of you are following him on LinkedIn or have seen some of the thought pieces that he has produced over the course of his career. During the course of his career, he has been recognized as an industry leader for more than 20 years, which means he started when he was 5. He's been named recently by Gather Voices as one of the top 50 voices in events. So that's really impressive. Congratulations for that. And he successfully launched the Hospitality Show, which had over 4,000 attendees at QuestX. And then he's also oversaw a portfolio of 175 events when he was working at AHOA. So here at eShow, we are thrilled to have him on our team and his expertise. And now I'm going to turn it over to Akshar for the webinar. Oh, one more thing before I do. Sorry. Please, we are going to be taking Q&A at the end. So please add your questions, post your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. Now over to you.
Diane, thanks for the intro, but also welcome to everyone that's joining us today. The slide that you see can't be done without a good team around you or people around you in the industry. So I've been blessed, I would say, to be part of great teams, but also have a great industry network as well, because in this industry, nothing can be done on your own. So let's get into it today. I know we're kind of looking at other ways and challenges that we're feeling through our industry, but I was kidding around with my marketing team when they showed me the slide. The person in the slide kind of is having some type of challenges, but what kind of challenges is she having? I don't know, but I thought it was pretty fitting of what the slide and the verbiage say. But navigating through challenges, I think you can also be interactive during this webinar by with your emojis and so forth. But let me see if I can ask you all, how many of you are feeling that last minute registrations make your event planning very difficult? If you can, maybe click on an emoji, whether it's a thumbs up or a heart or whatever you feel like today. But we're definitely seeing that a lot of last minute registrations are coming in, and it's difficult, right? Not only to plan, but how do you get these attendees pre-engaged if they're coming in last minute? So here's some stats that we have, and the source is also listed at the bottom, but 60% of attendees in total register in the final 2 weeks. Now that's huge, right? For example, you've got your cutoffs, you've got your orders for whether it's food and beverage or your hotel housing cutoffs, etc., that you've got to be either 4 weeks out or even before 2 weeks. But now we're seeing trends that in the last 2 weeks, 60% of the registrations come in the last 2 weeks. Of that, 29% register in the final 2 weeks, 22% register actually during the week of the event, and we're seeing 9% register on site. Well, the 9% I think is still, kind of common in terms of on site, but the 29 and 22 are kind of stats that give us a little bit of pause and say, how do you actually really plan? How do you really engage attendees? But here at eShow, we're finding ways, and we're actually putting things into place with solutions with our clients, but also new clients on how do we get there. So I'm going to be sharing some of that data with you, as well as solution-oriented aspects as well. Evolving the expectations as last minute registrations, and the expectations are so high and they're so fast, seamless, but also expectations need to be also kind of streamlined, whether it's through technology advancement or whether it's through some type of pre-engagement or something that's going to actually bring down that whole anxiety level of how do you plan for last minute registrations. We're seeing here, what are the key demands in terms of engagement? So, how do we drive those tech expectations? It's mobile first experiences, real time engagement, personalized content. So, what we're doing with the mobile app here at eShow is we're making it even more robust in terms of having the ability to have everything in your palm or on a mobile device, both from a networking aspect of it, from an agenda aspect of it, from a content aspect of it, but also real-time engagement. We know that really typically you can only supplement human resources with technical resources, right? So our dashboards that give real-time data for the show organizer or the stakeholders to pivot or change at any given time. You don't have to wait post-show to get that data to say, let's make these tweaks for next event or next year at our annual. We're providing real-time data to make those changes, enhancements right on site as well as in real time. And the personalized content piece of it, what does that mean? Push notifications, but also sponsorship opportunities. We're making these opportunities and content-driven experiences more immersive, but also more applicable to the attendee. When I think about going to an event, I'm a little guilty as well. I'll be totally honest. I don't think I fall in the last 4 weeks or the last 2 weeks, but my decision making has come down to, let's say 60 or so days. Why? Because I'm looking at who's going to be at that event. Who can I meet? How can I create networking opportunities? How can I create business opportunities? But we're seeing that decision is also through mobile apps or mobile technology. So, for example, by sharing any type of data on who's attending, who's registering, that also is part of engagement as well. But also the engagement side is not just on the attendees, but it's on the exhibitor and sponsor side. Our show mapping and our sponsorship modules, or even our meeting logistic modules, are helping event planners, but also the sponsors at that point be more engaged, right? So what does that mean? If you look at our show floor map demo, and I hope you guys reach out for demos, we're now creating different, areas, whether it's a pavilion, whether it's an activation, to be right on the show floor. So what does that do for your sales team? It gives them that real-time opportunity to make sales in real time, but also in a more experience-based opportunity. What are the behavioral trends? Shorter attendee spans. We typically, humanly, we sit in a chair for about 30 minutes, and whatever in that 30 minutes we get, we grasp. The 31st minute, we're out the door, we're checked out, etc. But also, who fits into these seats? We're seeing more Gen Z and millennial attendees, right? Coming from an association background, membership is looking at how do you convert, young professionals into annual members, or how do you pass on legacy membership to new emerging thought leaders, new leadership, new blood in the industry, but also as part of association. And we're seeing that we have to evolve with the time, with the attendee, and what the customer wants. The customer is getting more savvier. The customer, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't have the amount of time that they used to in making a decision. So that acquisition time, the attendee acquisition time, has also been reduced immensely, right? And who are our attendees? They're savvier than ever. They understand what technology trends are. They don't want to be bogged down by, multiple pages of registration, multiple pages of information. They want everything in at least 3 clicks. How do I get somewhere within 3 clicks? I know, e-commerce is something that I would probably even touch on here. We're habits of creature to be on Amazon, on Insta, or any other social media or e-commerce platforms. But if we like something, we're buying it. We know that we can return it. We don't want to return attendee registration here, but it's that experience that you want to draw your crowd in to make that firsthand experience buy and not look back. We're also in some economic pressure, right? Here at eShow, we're very practical, and we also surround ourselves with data that shows us what the industry, but also where the world is trending. We've come across conversations that budgets are getting tighter, the pressure to do more with less. As I mentioned earlier, excuse me, that typically human resources can only be really supplied with technical resources with tighter budgets, teams not being as large as usual. We want to bring everything onto one dashboard for these individuals by using eShow. The shift in priorities, right? The focus on maximizing engagement through event efficiency or planning. That's a key discussion that's happening in closed offices, open boardrooms, but maximizing how do you be in front of your stakeholders, your attendees, your customers more than your planning. And that one-to-one touch really enhances that acquisition piece. And we're making it much easier with all of our eShow platforms. If you know or didn't know, we've got roughly about 13 different modules, all the way from speaker management, session management, conference logistics management, trade show management, sponsorship management, registration management, mobile apps, and much, much more. You don't need all 13, or we would love for you to all use all 13. However, or 14, however many they are, but we can also help you build your portfolio with our modules. Smaller local events, we're seeing this on the association side, that more chapter meetings or regional meetings are happening. We have solutions that fit that size as well. We call it eShow in a box, or a smaller footprint on registration or other equipment. We know that you can't really, have a robust registration area or mobile app area or even other pieces of equipment at smaller meetings, but we're making it modular, but we're also scalable in our offerings, both on a hardware and software side. The attendee journey, as I mentioned earlier in my opening, that when I was on the show management side, I really paused at one point in my career to say, what is an attendee journey like? What is it like to be in that person's shoes? And at this point, these three major areas where technology drives every touch point, right? We don't even sometimes go to the grocery store without either pulling out an app or putting in directions to something or a destination that's maybe even 3 miles down the road. So technology is our driving oxygen. It is driving everything that we do in life, but more so on the event side, it is driving almost every experience. Whether you're sitting in a general session room and you're seeing this massive production, that is all technology driven with human touch points. But the flashy screens, whether it's the content, etc., that is all technology driven. High value and convenient experiences, right? We want the attendees to be very eased at what they need to do. They're coming on site, they've got goals, they've got opportunities, and they don't want to be bogged down by how do I get somewhere. We provide that navigating tool for all of our attendees. And then end-to-end approach, a unified experience from start to finish. From the time they come onto a website to register or even find out about an event, we want to capture that person right there in the moment. eShow does a great job with building these interactive websites, providing that experience from day one. In my next slide, I think you'll see that we use an analogy here that you'll be pleased with. And with that, the impact of event technology experience. So 69% of Gen Z attendees say they enhance the event experience through that. 57% say they rose or less. They see streaming of the events more, boosted retention, etc. So at 35%, you're retaining more and more attendees, but also they're coming back for more, and that means a lot. So what are some of these solutions, right? So we're going to be talking about a couple of things here that drive this efficiency, what our solutions are from a hardware and software side. First impressions matter. So here's where that analogy kicks into play. Technology is your event concierge. Many years ago, I used to work on the hotel side. And as you know, when you walk into a hotel, your front desk associate is the first person you see. Or if you're walking into a full service hotel, the bellman or the bellwoman is the first person you see. and they're also the last person you see leaving a hotel, right? So when technology is out there, it's the concierge, or it's that touch point of giving you everything that you need. And we're really taking that hospitality side into what we offer, right? Seamless registration starts here. Set the tone with eShow's intuitive platform. Easy online registration, but also the automated communication from the start. Faster check-in and smarter tech. We've all been kind of, subjects to getting on a plane from home, leaving at 5 in the morning, saying bye to your families or your loved ones, and getting on an early bird flight, getting to a venue destination. You've got to go to the hotel to check in, and then you've got to go to a convention center to pick up your badge. And in that, you've already accumulated 10,000 steps. So eShow has evolved this check-in process with mobile or kiosk-based solutions. So for example, we've got kiosk solutions that you can scan QR codes, get your badge at your HQ hotels or wherever you're staying. We know that, for example, for larger citywide or larger events, we've also been asked to set up registration check-in areas, even at airports. All you need is a dedicated Wi-Fi line. We have our kiosk and printers, and even it reduces temp staff. It reduces costs on build-outs for registration areas. But these are the types of technology pieces, both on the hardware and software side, eShow is evolving to. We're taking a very practical approach and saying, what does an attendee go through on the painstaking side, but how do we take those painstaking points to make it more easy and more sufficient? Boost engagement instantly, right? You don't get the frowns to say, oh, I gotta stand in this line. I'm sweating. I've been soaked by rain, etc. And you see a more happier customer, happier attendee from the get-go, and it boosts that engagement. They get in, check in, and they're off to networking. They're off to seeing their friends, or maybe they're just off to catching up on work on a flight, etc. So we're making all of our solutions practical, but also how does it affect the attendee experience? Getting more time back, as I mentioned, by implementing some of these solutions that eShow is providing, you get more time back. Whether you're on the show side, whether you're on the organizer side, the exhibitor side, all of these systems are automated. They're providing experiences. Yes, if there's a matter that comes up, you can attend to it, but it's giving you more time back to be strategic and make strategic decisions, both on the attendee side, but also on the organizer side. Actionable strategies for event planners, leveraging the event tech tools. Our event management software is streamlining the planning, scheduling, coordination of all communications and events. Our mobile app, again, just going into a new version of it and just enhancing it because the climate has changed, the business has changed, provides real-time updates, networking, and engagement features. And then again, as I mentioned, we've taken the exhibitor side and the sponsor investment or the investors into a great deal of planning this out. We want to make sure that our exhibitors, or your exhibitors for that matter, are happier. Your sponsors are happier. It creates retention. But having that background in the associations, that I used to always love going onto the show floor and hearing the feedback from the exhibitors. They would say, it was so easy for us to check it. It was so easy for us to get our badges. It was so easy to integrate with our general service contractors. And eShow has even partnered up with Shepherd, a leading general service contractor, to kind of create these experiences. We know that the exhibitor side is a very, very different beast, if I can totally say it that way, in that exhibitors are going from either show to show, or the person that signs the contract is not always handling the logistics, right? So that logistics person may not sometimes have all the information debriefed from someone that signed the contract, and we're making it easier for that logistics person as well. So all of these taken into consideration just gives you a full 360 better experience in using eShow for your event. Capitalizing on the power of technology. As I mentioned, the digital kiosk, the gentleman in this picture is at a real kiosk. It's not AI driven. This is a real piece of hardware that we use. Lead retrieval tools. Our lead retrieval team and systems on site have been very, very engaged with the exhibitors, very engaged with the show organizers, that lead to more lead revenue generation for not only the exhibitor, but also for the organization. And we take that into consideration. Event analytics, tracking the performance of attendee behaviors. Right now, we've got some great things in the pipelines, both from a technical aspect of it, but from partnerships as well. We at eShow believe that, if we don't have it, we're going to go find it. We're going to go find partners, or we're going to build it to make sure that it suffices for the show organizers and the marketplace. Virtual and hybrid platforms. This is still kind of somewhat in demand for more educational purposes, whether it's for LMS system, abstracts. We know that on the life sciences or the medical industry, abstracts is one of the core pieces of that event. We've got a great abstract management system that we have implemented. And we're also looking at how do posters be revolutionized, whether it's through an e-poster or different engagements at a poster presentation. Our strategy is expanding the ecosystem, as I mentioned, through partnerships, comprehensive event support, end-to-end integrations, but also optimizing execution. We know that pre-planning happens, and once you're on site, it's no holds barred, right? You have to be able to execute rather than be planning in the moment. And with our platforms, you're able to do that. You're able to, again, get that real-time data, be nimble, but also be very modular in your planning or execution, I should say, on site as well. And that's how we really flourish at eShow. This is one of my favorite slides because it's one thing to kind of say and put out there what we are doing, what we have in our bag of tricks, or in our great warehouses or our teams. But here's what clients are saying. This is Hannah Dieters. She's the director of event and sustainability with a very well-known industry association, IAE, and we're privileged that we are able to support IAE as well as the industry. The user-friendly dashboard made it easy for our staff to generate and pull reports, streamlining our operations. On-site registration operated efficiently, with attendees appreciating the sleek and intuitive self-check-in kiosks. Additionally, eShow's on-staff responsiveness and support were invaluable both in addressing operational issues pre-event and providing exceptional on-site customer service. They played a crucial role in training and leading the temporary staff team, ensuring everything ran smoothly. Hannah and the team at IAE, Marsha, Lisa, etc. Again, thank you for giving us such a heartfelt testimonial, but also the opportunity to serve you in the industry. And as you know, each client is served in our white glove service box, right? But this one, knowing that they also serve the events industry, I hope you're able to take away some of the testaments that they've shared, but again, some of the reality that we bring to the events and to our customers and clients every day. I'd be foolish not to acknowledge our on-site teams, our travel teams, our tech teams, our operational teams, our product teams, our sales teams, our fearless leader, Raju Patel, for kind of spearheading all of this, because without a back end that's as strong as what we have at eShow and ever growing, both here and around the world, we can't get testimonials and we can't get great clients, like I just mentioned here in the slide, but also those of you who are watching our clients, all of our clients that are not on the webinar. We thank all of them through this slide, and we hope to serve more as well as better enhance all of our experiences with clients into the future. Again, I'd love to stay connected with all of you. As I mentioned, my QR code and even the eShow team here is linked here. But this is how hospitality works at eShow. We're reachable. We don't shy away from getting on a call. We also don't shy away from getting on planes and trains and getting into cars to go to client visits or come to your offices. We know that face-to-face interaction is something that we can't replace. So we know what the value is in in-person meetings and events. And I hope to see many of you at your new events or at your existing events, and even on demos as well as your offices as well. So I think this is the best part of the presentation. Diane, welcome back. Let's open it up. Yeah, let's open it for some
Yeah.
Q&A, and we'll go from there.
All right, we've got some great questions. The first one is, can you share an example of how smart technology has transformed the attendee experiences in past events that you've attended?
Yeah, I think the one that really sticks out in my mind is actually IAEE, where we rolled out those kiosks. We went from a large registration counter to roughly about 4 kiosks that people checked in, they scanned, and they left, and they felt very they felt great, and it was a great setup. And what that did is it just reduced time. It gave back to the attendee. You could see more networking even happening at the scan and go sections. And what I'm seeing now is obviously I can't name any clients due to privacy and so forth, but we've got some great clients in the next coming weeks that are utilizing this technology at hotels, at their HQ hotels, or various entry and exit points into a very large convention center. So what they're doing is they're cutting back on they're cutting back the time needed to stand in lines, but also it's not always just the experience, but I think there's an emotional buy to this as well. When you can see someone putting on a lanyard and with a smile, you know that they're on to the next with great
Mhm.
positivity. So I think that was something that I applaud the eShow team on executing
Yeah.
this couple months.
I I actually put that slide back up that actually had referenced earlier, that this is a real piece of technology, and this is what he was saying. Like, you walk up and there's this big kiosk right there to help you register, so everyone can see a visual of what you're explaining. The other one, another good one, is with Gen Z and millennials driving tech expectations. How should partners, or I'm sorry, how should planners adapt their engagement strategies to meet demands for personalization and mobile first and experiences?
Yeah, great question. Um, I always say this because and my life's a pretty open book, but I've got 2 beautiful daughters that are 12 and 8, and I feel like they are more advanced in technology than I'll ever be in my lifetime. And I use them as kind of my soundboard in the sense of they're looking for instant gratification. They're looking for personalized messaging, right? And when I see that, or when I say that and actually see that, I see how engaged they are in either a conversation or the experience, right? So, for example, right now, they're in this Snapchat phase, and I know I'm using my own kids as example, but I'll get to my end story here real quick. But when they do a Snapchat and they put it up with either we have a family group chat or just a friend chat, and someone reacts to it, they feel enticed to do more, or they feel good about what they just done, right? So the attendees that we're seeing right now on the Gen Z, millennial, and even new incoming fresh blood into the industry or at events, they need to be kind of catered to and handheld to give them that inclusive feeling to say be part of the content, be part of the experience, and here's how we want to get you on to be part of that content. Hello, such and such. Here's an agenda that we think would benefit you as a first time attendee to the conference. We think that you're looking at the educations because there's CMEs or some type of educational credit that's back to it. So here's an agenda, or here's a topic that you may want to look at. And then as I mentioned on the trade show floor, it's daunting to go into a large trade show as a first time, or even as a new beginner at these large events, right? So build out an actual schedule, right? Uh, I'm guilty, and I'm sure many of you are. We use ChatGPT or OpenAI now more than anything, right? We use it for build me a itinerary if I'm going to Australia, build me an itinerary, or tell me how I should phrase this or phrase that, or how do I tackle this challenge, right? So we are actually the chat GPTs for the event industry. eShow wants to take that on board and say, how do we take all of that and give back for a better experience? So I think catering to that, there's a psychological piece of this, there's a product piece to this, and there's a execution piece to this. And I think if you can't get your hands around some of these major areas, that's where we're going to lose on the opportunity of personalized content or personalized engagement.
Great, good answer. I've got a few more really good questions. One from Aaron. Do you have any good examples of using gamification and how it relates to attendee engagement?
Yeah, I think the example, Aaron, that's a great question. I'll kind of lean this towards more of the show floor mapping that we use, and that's where a lot of the experience is coming into place, right? So whether it's a pavilion that you can kind of see in 3D or whatnot, those are some of the areas that we are trying to put out there more, because those are large investments, right? So anything that has either an investment piece to it, whether it's a sponsorship piece of it, that's where we want to add gamification to it as well. Even on the content side, content is king right now. Whether it's video, whether it's general session, whether it's reels, etc. How do you use gamification through your social media platforms? We're all on the LinkedIn's of the world, the Instas of the world, the X's of the world, etc. But again, in those platforms, how do you give that gamification look to have that attendee acquisition be much less? And that's where we're kind of pinpointing it on both on the attendee side, but also the exhibitor side.
Great, thank you. Melanie has asked, digital kiosks for self-service check-in. We've seen a lot at more events, but we're seeing different reasons for why events may have larger kiosks. Can you share some of what you're seeing happen with the use case for these larger kiosks? And has the use cases changed over time?
So great question, Melanie. I think there's two ways that I've seen it. One is the larger kiosks are being used for sponsorship or ads, etc. Right? So you can have digital sponsorship opportunities that are either on loop or stagnant, however you want to factor that in. But it gives a much cleaner look, but also helps the efficiency on the operations side. I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but I'll assume here safely that, Melanie, you're maybe on the organizer side in some capacity. But one of the things that I used to hate is, or not hate, I would get really frustrated with, is the version control of logos, right? So these logos that would come in for print, and you've got to have a vector file, you've got to get it to your print shop by such and such date. And we all know everything is lastminute.com. So what's happening is you can actually refeed or have more time in digitalizing your sponsorships and so forth. And then the other question I think you asked were in size, right? So eShow is blessed that we have two different sizes in terms of what our needs are. So we've got a 6-foot kiosk, roughly, that is kind of a full meter board if you take that into consideration, or we've got kind of more of a 32-inch type kiosk, a smaller TV looking module that could fit that business or scale need as well. But again, the same principle or the same functionality is there. It's just a matter of either how big or how small either you want your layout to be, or even your ads or your experience to be.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
We have one more question. What examples have you seen where interactive content significantly improved engagement at an event?
Yeah, great question. So whether it's in session polling or in session surveys, etc., we've seen that drive the engagement, right? Both from a speaker standpoint, but also an attendee standpoint, and you're able to capture the real-time data right there. In our speakers management portals, we have that capability, because again, logistics are one thing to plan, but content and driving that engagement and driving people to be in educational sessions or general sessions, keynotes, tracks, educational seminars is a mighty task to be also doing year after year. So we've seen that piece there. one of my wishes, if we have any AV vendors on the webinar today, one of my wishes is to try to figure out how engaged your audience is using facial recognition. We've talked about it in many of our internal meetings on the product side, but your feelings are always expressed through whether it's body language, eye language, facial language, and how do you get that type of data, right? We're in events every day, convention centers, hotels, restaurants, networking sessions, and you can see how many people are either engaged, checked out, or just not interested, right? And how do we take that piece now with the facial recognition technology that's out there? And maybe eShow will be a game changer in that, I'm hoping. Or we can partner up with vendors that have certain things like that, because as eShow is providing event technology, we're also farmers of data. We are the farmers of data, and we want to bring that back to show organizers, Melanie, like yourself, or whatever your role is at your organization, to make more better as well as strategic decisions for future events.
Well, that looks like that's all the questions we have. One last call for questions. Do we have anything else? No. Thank you. Actually, I'll let you close it out for us.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity here to kind of get about 36, 37 minutes on your calendar today. And I'm hoping that you also were able to take some key takeaways there. But, as I mentioned, post this webinar, please reach out to whether it's me or our sales team or any of our team members for that matter. And we'll be happy to get on a more intimate call with you guys to understand your needs. Every need is different. Every event is different. But I think the one thing I want to leave everyone here with is that eShow is a very scalable and modular event technology platform that any size event from 5 to 50,000 doesn't one scare us, but it also is something that we can service with all of our white glove service and backed by a phenomenal team both at HQ as well as on the field. So once again, thank you for taking time out of your day, but also thank you for all you do at your organizations in the events industry. And I hope to see you soon, hopefully not at an airport or anywhere like that, but at your event. And hope everyone has a great week.
Oh, one more thing. We will be, if anyone is going to ASAE's MMC Plus Tech, we will have a kiosk there. So please stop by. We'd love to see you. And also, we're excited about that. Actually, you'll be in DC too at ECEF.
Yes,
later.
I will be there at ECF. So, and anyone that wants to connect there, happy to do so. But as Diane mentioned, I think for a demo purpose, our director of sales, Samantha, and Diane and the team will also be there to walk you through any questions or any demos you want to do.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.